Yeah. So, anyone who wants to start, please stand up.
Hi.
Volume.
Hi, good morning, afternoon. Hope everyone's well. Hoje é doido. Acorda, o traffic stop assim na Gordão, just like foolish. And then I went to work by my stuff, and then I went home, and then I had my food, some pizza, and then I had to clean, and then like put it in like post-it, and then I realized, shit, I have to go here. Then it was load shedding. Then I had to sit in the dark and do it.
Why are you recording?
This bad is recording. I'm sorry. And then I had to finish my assignment after school and I went to sleep. What did I research? I researched how to do the animations
Okay.
and the keyframes, and the only thing that I'm stuck with is the ideas in the class that I spoke to you about.
Specificity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you should start doing research indeed. Word of the day.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. So, what did I do now? I got down, I relaxed and stuff first. And then I made supper, and then I realized where the work. So, I did my research at like almost 9 at night. And after that, what did I research? I researched about the animation and transition. So I worked out to do it in the website and stuff like that. Am I stuck? I don't think I'm stuck. I think I just need to do it more often. Please overcome the current problem, like to practice more and to understand it more, but more. And word of the day, to code, to do and practice a lot.
Okay. Cindy.
Everyone, didn't do much, I did research on the transition and animation properties, and my stuff, not really, but I'm still going through various examples of the transition and animation properties, and then any plans of current problems is to practice.
Word of the day. Word of the day.
Practice.
Okay. So, hello guys. When I got home, there was load shedding, so I couldn't do much. But I researched same stuff as you guys, which is keyframes, animation and transition properties. And my start, not really. Plans to overcome the current problem. I don't have any problem, so there's no problem to overcome. Word of the day, keep coding. Yeah. I don't know what is the problem with this TV because it keep on disconnecting.
I think it's the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi? Okay, let me just try to reconnect again because I want to start the session. Okay, we can start. So today we'll start with the revision on multiple background images, border property, border radius, text shadow property, and box shadow property. And also we'll do some revision on border image property and transform properties. After that, we'll take a quiz. And after the quiz, it's almost 12 o'clock, whereby we'll be taking a lunch because it was requested by Yebo. So, sister, can you read the first paragraph? So the first line for me. Yeah. A bit louder.
Multiple background images. You can use the background image property with multiple values separated by comma.
Your understanding on it?
So you're able to use multiple background images using the URL separated by commas.
Okay.
And then adding whatever values like background size and that to
Okay. So, sister,
The word wrap property is used to
Volume.
specify whether or not the browser should break lines within words to prevent overflowing and otherwise unbreakable string is too long to fit in its containing box. So word wrap is like if you have a box with information in it, you can make it like
okay. You can MDN, no worries.
So it's got to do with you can wrap the words in there so that it can stay in the box, the containing box that it is, so that if it overflows above it, there's options where you can make it a scroll. No.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Say.
Wait. So it is a picture, no?
Yeah.
And you want to put the words next to the picture. You need to make a word wrap so it can be on size, so it goes like along with the picture, right?
Okay. Can somebody else help you?
I think it's if you use the word property, there is a box with information. And if it overflows, you can put in word that will break the word to the next line.
Okay. That's it, but you're almost there.
Yeah.
I know there's a similarity.
The picture you can see like if I'm watching stuff. So I think I don't know how to complete it anyway.
Oh, okay. Cindy, the third one?
The border radius is the property around the corners of an element's outer border edge. You can set external radius to make circular corners or to radii to make elliptical corners. So my understanding of border radius is where you can round the corners of your box.
Okay. Sister, can you do the next one? The border
The
image.
border image says property draws an image around a given element. It replaces the element's regular border. So you use border image instead of the border style solid that replaces the border image, and you can use a picture as the border.
Okay. Sister?
Word wrap in CSS. If you have an unbreakable string such as a very long word, by default it will overflow any container that is too small in the inline direction. You can see this happening in the example below. The long word is extending past the boundary of the box it is contained in. So my understanding is like if you have extremely long word and you want to let the go to the next line, you use word wrap and then the word break and stuff, you have to break it like in half so it can go in line. If you don't, then it will just go right across the box, out of the box and stuff.
Okay, Cindy. Box shadow?
The box shadow sees its property as shadow effects around the element's frame. You can set multiple effects separated by commas. A box shadow is described by X and onto your box element, you can set the shadow. If you want it to be blurred, it to be a strong color, yeah, the radius of actually where you want to increase the shadow.
Okay. Can I?
Can I ask you something?
Oh, sure.
Is the word black and white
Yes.
is it the same?
It's the same thing, it does the same thing, but use different properties that do the same thing because they work with text. So the text shadow CSS property adds shadows to text. It accepts a comma-separated list of shadows to be applied to the text and any of its decoration. Each shadow is described by some combination of X and Y offsets from the element, blur, radius, and color. The text shadow CSS property adds shadows to text. It accepts a comma-separated list of shadows to be applied to the text and any of its decorations. Each shadow is described by some combination of X and Y offsets from the element, blur, radius, and color. Right? The transform CSS property lets you rotate, scale, skew, or translate an element. It modifies the coordinate space of the CSS visual formatting model. The transform CSS property lets you rotate, scale, skew, or translate an element. It modifies the coordinate space of the CSS visual formatting language. The CSS visual formatting model. I keep saying language. Can you guys explain the text shadow property? Each and every one of you guys. Just tell me what you understand about the text shadow property.
So the text shadow property is where you can, if you have a text sentence, you can make like a shadow, like you can make like a highlight over it, or you can make it the words like come again just below beneath it and things like the shadow behind the words, and you change color and things like that.
Okay, Cindy.
As Tadeusz said, it's when you add a shadow to your text, and you can specify now that shadow can be the color. So we need to sort of like bring out the text, and yeah, and how you want it to be transparent, how you want it to stand out, the shadow of the text.
Sister.
So the thick shadow is kind of like the box shadow. So you can add different values for that properties, and like it says the blur radius and the color. So the blur radius would be the shadow. I gave you under the thing, and the light to outdoor, the opacity.
Okay. So on the transform property, can you explain that?
So the transform property is where you can, if you have the box, you can make it rotate upside down, or even if you choose, you can make it like a window skew, you can make it go from one side of the page to the next side of the page, or you can just leave it as is, as our picture was made.
Cindy?
The transform CSS property allows you to rotate, sort of like give a mirror effect of your image. You can scale it up or scale it down. You can it's sort of like playing around visually with that selected element.
Okay, sister?
So with the transform property, you can rotate the image.
Volume?
With the transform property, you can rotate any image or element on your page. We can rotate it 180, 360, we can scale it to be big or small. The skew is we can shift it to the side, or you can translate the element of the pixels and the percentage that you use to modify.
Can you quickly just search transform on MDN and play with those examples? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I need you to play with skew so that you understand skew a bit better.
I see it's like we use the degrees to shift it like a certain degree, like which is 90 degrees would be like.
Okay. So if the property has a value different than none, a stacking context will be created. In that case, the element will act as a containing block for any position fixed or position absolute element that it contains. So we want examples now. So the background image CSS property sets one or more background images on an element. As you can see, I think we did the examples yesterday. And did you understand any of that? Is there any questions on the background image property?
It's just the spacing
The spacing,
that will be issue.
which is?
Like, when you use the two images like here,
Yeah.
it just shows the images on top of each other.
Look what's happening on the example. Doing the same thing.
Yes, but what we were trying to do is to like add it either side by side or above and below each other.
Then you need to understand the background property.
And like we like if we only have one image
Yeah.
and we put in the properties, it didn't work. But as soon as you add the second URL,
It adds it on top.
And then it makes that the first one with small.
Okay. You were saying?
what I thought that like it will go next to what they actually said it wrong. Even though you put no repeat, it still repeats.
Still repeats. Okay. Cindy?
I tried to use the last example whereby like that linear gradient and the background was like two colors, from like two paper colors, and then you had the lizard. I tried to do that and it didn't work because the image that I had is sort of like it was sort of like cut out like the lizard so that you can see the background. So I was just having a problem with that.
Okay. So, Cindy, can you tell us about the linear gradient? What do you understand about the linear? I know we haven't covered it, but since you did it yesterday, I just want to assess your understanding on it.
I think it's like when like you have a color that sort of fades out and then you can have another color because that linear gradient had two colors that you could use. So it was like colors fading into, like meshing into each other. So I didn't go into details, but I just visually understood it like that. What it does.
Okay. So the word wrap property is used to specify whether or not the browser should break lines within words to prevent overflow when an otherwise unbreakable string is too long to fit in its containing box. The word wrap property is used to specify whether or not the browser should break lines within words to prevent overflow when an otherwise unbreakable string is too long to fit in its containing box. Fun. The transform CSS property lets you rotate, scale, skew, or translate an element. It modifies the coordinate space of the CSS visual formatting model. The transform CSS property lets you rotate, scale, skew, or translate an element. It modifies the coordinate space of the CSS visual formatting model. The box shadow CSS property adds shadow effects around an element's frame. You can set multiple effects separated by commas. A box shadow is described by X and Y offsets relative to the element, its blur, and sprayed radius and color. Do we see the examples? Did you play with it? Okay. Do we understand? Any questions? Your hand was up? Oh, okay. That was supposed to be our first 15 minutes break, but we'll just, since we are 10 minutes away from lunch, we'll continue. Let's do the quiz. Guys, can you tell me about the transition property? The transition properties, because it's not just one property, it's a shorthand property. And also tell me what are the constituent properties that it goes with, and what do they do each and every one of them. So must I choose, or you just answer?
I know, I think it was just a transition delay, where you can delay the time that it starts, and like you put 2 seconds, and then if you have a word, like if you choose the other option, if you have a word, it will like start in 2 seconds.
Okay.
And then transition property is the name that you give it. Well, not the name, but what you're targeting, like if you're targeting the word, like whatever property on the property, something like that.
Okay.
Transition duration is when is the amount of time that you want the transition to occur for. So if you choose 5 seconds, it will only go on for 5 seconds. And then I think it's
Okay, let's go to another one. Sister, what do you understand about the transition property and the constituent properties that it goes with?
So the transition property is
Volume?
where you can, the property one is where like you can merge from right to left or something. So like if you have a box and you put the other out, it will move from right left, you making it merge to the left or right. You have to basically put like the amount of damage you want it to move in like whatever. And then or you put all on that, where all is to do everything, and none of that, none of it will be, they don't do anything you see none. And then the transition duration is where you, like there's a timing one also, like how long you want it to go, if you're making it go in a circle or whatever they need to tell you, like how long it needs to go. The transition timing function is also like similar where you can time each block that you're doing it. So if, for example, you have 4 squares, you want the first one to go a certain time, you can make that, you want second to go a bit faster, like that. And in the transition delay, you can make it slow,
Yeah, you can even check on MDN.
yeah, the transition delay is when you can say like you say 250 ms with, it depends on what number you use it, before so slow or whatever. So it all works together, some of them, and you can also like just use like I said, the version with this transition property where you put none or all in. So you put that all or none in the option to do everything that you want it to do. Or you can just specify what exactly you want the things must do.
Okay. Cindy?
Okay, so
Volume?
okay, so transitioning, so the transition property enables you to define the transitioning between the states of a link. could be either we have a state overload or an active state overload. And yes, that's the first one. And then the duration is since the time of when you have how that transaction must happen, and then you have transaction behavior, which is it specifies the transactions which will be stated for the property. So basically, it's sort of like seeking the behavior of that selected principal and reading what they really want to do. And then delay is when you are hovering over a transaction, the delay it will take for the transaction to take place.
Okay, the CSS animation property, what can you tell me about it? What does it do? And the constituent properties that it comes with. Cindy at the back, you can start.
Okay, so the animation short-term CSS property applies to animation between styles, and using the tryout method, it shows you there on the animation of that circle. And the first property is whereby you name your animation.
Sister?
The animation property is a short
Volume.
for all the animation styles that you can use. So if she's an animation name, you will give animation duration, how long you want it to go on.
Okay, sister?
So, the animation property, short-term property is where you can move text or object that you put in your website. So if you want to use animation timing function, you can put in animation timing function, doing the ease in or out. So those are like the Luna is like it just goes at this normal pace, and ease in it will go like.
Oh, you mean linear?
Yeah, and then there's like.
You always like.
I was thinking sometimes. And then the animation time function ease in and out, it will go back and forth. So you can put either ease in, ease in and out is where it will go, so yeah, and ease in will just go one way, and ease out will go like the other way. So it's like different things in each of the animation functions.
Cindy? Animations.
Okay. So you have the animation for
Volume.
So you have the animation for which sets how the animation applies style to its target before and after execution. So when I use
The volume.
So when using the try it example, I can see that the I don't know how to explain it, but you can, using your values, you can set on how you want that animation flow to be. You can sort of set it to backwards, to forward, to none, and yeah. So I think in my understanding, animation is sort of like moving a selected object, and then there's based on how you can move that animation form sort of like does that, or helps you in doing that.
Okay. So now we'll take a lunch, since it's 1 minute to 12. We'll take lunch, then after lunch we'll discuss what is transition properties, CSS animation, then we'll do some examples, then we'll finish the session. After that, it's practicals.
Sorry, I need to.
Make a call.
No, I have assessment I need to do. He's in.
Is
Alright. I don't know what's happening to my screen, but let me just pause this.
It's still not working.
Yeah, it's working now. Okay, let's just do this. You can do it for me there. The transition CS property.
The transition CS property should write the conventional conjugation, conjugate function, conjugate.
You know, please just drop again, slash transition. Transition property, short property for transition property, transition function, transition and transition. Transition property, transition, transition timing, transition and transition. Sorry. The transition behavior CSS property specifies where the transition will be started for properties whose animation behavior is discrete.
The transition CSS, the transition delay CSS property specifies the duration to wait before starting a property's transition effect when its value changes.
Sister.
the transition duration CSS property sets the length of the time a transition animation should take to complete. By default, the value is 0, is meaning that no animation will occur.
0 seconds. So the transition delay CSS property specifies the duration to wait before starting property's transition effect when its value changes. The transition duration CSS property says the length of a time a transition animation should take to complete. By default, the default value is 0 seconds, meaning that no animation will occur. Cindy?
The transition property, CSS property sets the CSS properties to which a transition effect should be applied.
The transition CSS property sets the CSS properties to which transition should be applied. The transition timing function CSS property sets how intermediate values are calculated for CSS properties being affected by a transition effect. The transition timing function CSS property sets how intermediate values are calculated for CSS properties being affected by a transition effect. So can you just tell me your understanding on what I just read? One by one. Starting from Cindy at the back.
Transition timing function. That one.
No, I was just saying, just tell me what you understand on what you read. Starting from the top. What do you make out of this reading that you just did?
It makes it a transition on the state links in this case.
Links?
On the link states, sorry.
Can I just jump in for a minute? So it's not just only links, but you can use transition on. That's why I will keep on saying links, because it's not just only links. Right, but you can continue. Remember when we were playing a video, there was an example of an element. However, it can be applied on all elements. The active and all can also be applied on all elements. It just defaulted to links, right? But it's not just links, whereby you can use the different state of elements. But you can continue.
Yeah, so it makes transitions on states or two states of an element. Yeah.
Sister, your understanding?
So the transition properties provides a way for whatever elements of anything to control, like whatever animation trying to change, like the speed, the delay, the behavior of how they would act based on the properties you use.
Okay, sister?
So the transition series properties if you make up the box with colors and stuff in the CSS side, then if you hover over that specific box, it will change the color from white to whatever color, or you can fill up events with the wording of the backwards and stuff like that. So is that to change the speed, like you make the speed of it, so it goes like back to front, so like that here. It's like you change the things to make anything on your website. It will look like if you have a over to make color, it will go from big to small or flat to side or whatever you choose.
So is it fair if I say transition property is used for animating properties, animating elements?
It's used alongside animation.
So you can animate only using transition? Yes. Transition are animations, but it only needs different state before it can transition. So it's animation that is triggered by what? But states of an element. Just to simplify. You go, sister, on the first line. No.
The animation show then CSS property applies an animation between stars. It is a show then for animation time, animation duration, animation time function, animation delay, animation
Iteration count.
and animation iteration, animation fill mode, animation play state, and animation timeline.
So the animation shorthand CSS property applies in animation between styles. It is a shorthand for animation name, animation duration, animation timing function, animation delay, animation iteration count, animation direction, animation fill mode, animation play state, and animation timeline. Sister, you go.
The animation CSS property specifies the names of one or more keyframes and rules that describe the animation to apply to an element. Multiple keyframes and rules are specified as a comma separated list of names. If the specified name does not mention any keyframe at all, no properties are animated.
Cindy?
The animation duration CSS property sets the length of time that an animation takes to complete one cycle.
Okay. The animation shorthand CSS property applies an animation between styles. It is a shorthand for animation name, animation duration, animation timing function, animation delay, animation iteration count, animation direction, animation fill mode, animation play state, and animation timeline. The animation name CSS property specifies the names of one or more keyframes and rules that describe the animation to apply to an element. Multiple keyframes and rules are specified as a comma-separated list of names. If the specified name does not match any keyframe and rule, no properties are animated. The animation duration CSS property says the length of time that an animation takes to complete one cycle? Sister? You go. The timing function, animation timing function.
Animation. The animation time function says its property sets how an animation progresses through the duration of each cycle.
Sister?
The animation delay property specifies the amount of time to wait from applying the animation to an element before beginning to perform the animation. The animation can start later, immediately from its beginning, or immediately and partway through the animation.
Sister?
The animation iteration time CSS property sets the number of times an animation sequence should be played before stopping.
So guys, after this session, you'll be doing some practicals, right? So where are we? Direction? Iteration?
Direction.
Direction? Are you sure?
She did not hear.
Where's direction?
Direction is the last.
The last one. The animation direction CSS property sets whether an animation should play forward, backward, or alternate back and forth between playing the sequence forward and backward. Then we have the animation fill mode CSS property. Sets how a CSS animation applies style to its target before and after its execution. The animation fill mode CSS property sets how a CSS animation applies styles to its target before and after its execution. The animation timeline CSS property specifies the timeline that is used to control the progress of CSS animation. The animation timeline CSS property specifies the timeline that is used to control the progress of CSS animation. The animation play state CSS property sets whether an animation is running or paused. The animation play state CSS property sets whether an animation is running or paused. There are the examples on transition. I think we already played those on MTR, did we? There's another one.
You know what this reminds me of? You remember back in the day, like when they had the box TVs, and it would like, I wouldn't switch off, but I just got like a black screen and then the DVD, they would project like that on the screen.
Yeah.
So that's all like someone was here, you can bounce with animation, like you can bounce on the screen, like the object and stuff. It just reminded me of that with the DVDs.
I remember. Okay, yeah. The
Yeah.
logo. Okay, yeah, that is.
Like similar, but like
That is animation. That is animation. But that one is not triggered, so it's not. It does not fall under transition.
Yeah.
It falls under the animation, because it's not triggered. It just happens. Yeah. Where are we? Oh, the transition duration CSS property says the length of a time a transition animation should take to complete. By default, the value is 0, meaning that no animation will occur. The transition delay CSS property specifies the duration to wait before starting a property's transition effect when its value changes. Okay, let me show you what you must research for tomorrow. Before that, let me just quickly remind you. So guys, can we start with the practicals? And yeah, I'll tell you what to research. I'm just looking for this outline. So Friday is our last day on CSS, and we are writing an assignment. All the stuff that we already covered. Floats,
must add species to that. So you add floats, you add, at least you can write computers with that. You can.
Yeah.
You really have confidence, so it's not that as much. I think the hard part about it is thinking, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? That's what I want to do. But if you have anything, you can say, oh, maybe I can do this thing. It's easier like this.
Yeah, let's slow it down.
Right?
Yeah, let's slow it down.
You realize that yesterday.
Was it very because of the dog? Yeah.
Show some of it in the dog.
I have the June and the animation for this.
No.
Another one.
Yes.
I think like
3.
one that is both of the properties and
No,
one that
still
is
around
just
2, 3.
No,
Just do it and see now.
Let me see.
Review it again.
I'm trying to have to think. So when you use the background image, you must use background color also, in case the image doesn't show up.
There's a foreground.
Yeah. First sign of the